I went to dinner with my daughter-in-law's parents for the first time. I wore the worst clothes I owned. A wrinkled thrift store dress, old shoes with worn heels, a faded canvas bag. My daughter-in-law's mother looked me up and down with absolute disgust and asked, "How much do you earn? Can you even survive on that?" They offered me $700 a month to disappear from my son's life. They forgot I earned $40,000 every month for the past 19 years. I run operations in 5 countries, manage 12,000 employees. What I did next in that packed restaurant made her cry with shame in front of everyone. And believe me, they deserved every tear. Let me tell you who I really am. My name is Helena Montgomery. I'm 67 years old. For the past 19 years, I've been a regional director for a multinational corporation. My monthly salary is $40,000. But my son Daniel, who's 35 years old now, never knew that. To him, I was always just mom, the woman who left early for the office, the woman who came home tired, the woman who cooked with whatever was in the fridge. Just another office worker, maybe a secretary, someone ordinary, nothing special. And I never corrected him. I never told him the truth. I've been a widow for 6 years now. My husband Robert died of cancer when Daniel was 29. Robert and I built our life together slowly, carefully. When Daniel was born, I was working as a junior analyst. By the time he was 5, I'd been promoted to manager. By the time he was 11, I was senior director. And by the time he turned 16, I was running regional operations. But we never changed our lifestyle. We lived in a modest apartment. We drove a 10-year-old car. We shopped at regular grocery stores. We lived like middle-class people because we wanted Daniel to understand the value of work, not the comfort of money. When Daniel was 11 years old, he developed severe asthma. It was terrifying. He couldn't breathe properly. Some nights I stayed awake watching him sleep, making sure he was still breathing. The doctor said he needed surgery, a specialized procedure that wasn't covered by our basic insurance. The cost was $70,000. $70,000 we didn't have saved because I'd been investing everything into retirement funds and Daniel's future education. I took out loans. I sold my car. I worked triple shifts. I did consulting on weekends. I did everything I could, and we paid for that surgery. Daniel recovered completely. He doesn't even remember how sick he was. He just knows his mom worked hard. He never knew about the $70,000. He never knew about the loans I paid back over 3 years. He never knew I went without new clothes for 2 years to make those payments, and I never wanted him to know. That was my choice. I wanted my son to grow up valuing effort, not depending on my money. I wanted him to build his own life, make his own way, succeed because of his work, not because his mother had money. That was love to me, real love, not the kind that buys things, the kind that teaches values. Daniel grew up working part-time jobs in high school. He worked through college. He got student loans like everyone else. I co-signed them, but he paid them back himself. He rented cheap apartments with roommates. He ate ramen noodles and pasta like every other young professional. And he was proud of himself. He built character. He built resilience. He became a good man. 3 years ago, Daniel met Sophia. She was beautiful, educated, sophisticated. She came from wealth, real wealth. Her parents, Victoria and Richard Ashford, owned investment firms, real estate portfolios, vacation homes in 3 countries. Sophia herself had never worked a day in her life. She didn't need to. Her parents gave her everything: a trust fund, a luxury apartment, a new car every 2 years, designer clothes, first-class travel. When Daniel introduced me to Sophia, I liked her immediately. She was sweet, kind, genuine. She didn't act entitled. She treated Daniel with respect. She seemed to really love him, and Daniel loved her. That was enough for me. I didn't care about her money. I cared that she made my son happy. They got married 2 years ago. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. I gave them a gift. A modest gift by my standards, but significant by what Daniel thought I could afford. I gave them $5,000 in a savings account to start their life together. Daniel cried. He said it was too much. He said I shouldn't have spent so much. I told him I'd saved for years for this moment. Which was true. I just didn't mention I could have given them 50 times that amount without noticing. After the wedding, Daniel told me that Sophia's parents wanted to meet me properly. They'd been at the wedding, of course, but we'd only exchanged pleasantries. Nothing deep, nothing real. They'd been polite, but distant. Now they were visiting the country for a month and wanted to have dinner with me, a proper dinner. Get to know their son-in-law's mother. Daniel called me 3 days before the dinner. He sounded nervous. "Mom," he said, "I need to tell you something. Sophia's parents are very traditional, very formal. They're used to certain standards. The restaurant they picked is expensive, very expensive. Please don't worry about prices on the menu. Richard insists on paying for everything. Just order whatever you want. And, they might ask questions about your work. Just be yourself. They're good people once you get to know them." I heard something in his voice, a warning, a concern. He was worried about how his wealthy in-laws would treat his simple office worker mother. He was worried I'd feel uncomfortable. He was trying to protect me, my sweet son. He had no idea. After that call, I sat in my apartment for an hour just thinking. I thought about the woman Victoria Ashford expected to meet, a lower-middle-class widow, someone who scraped by, someone who probably couldn't afford nice clothes or fancy dinners, someone beneath their status, someone who didn't belong in their world. And I made a decision. I decided to give them exactly what they expected. I decided to play the role perfectly. I wanted to see something. I wanted to see how these people, these wealthy, sophisticated people, would treat someone they thought had nothing, someone they thought was beneath them. I wanted to see their real character, their real hearts. So I went to my closet and found the oldest dress I owned, a floral print dress I'd bought at a thrift store years ago for a costume party. Faded colors, loose fit, wrinkled fabric. I found old shoes with worn heels, scuffed leather. I found a canvas bag I'd used for grocery shopping, frayed edges, stains from years of use. I left my jewelry at home, all of it. No watch, no earrings, no rings except my simple wedding band. I looked in the mirror and saw exactly what Victoria and Richard Ashford would expect to see. A poor woman, a struggling widow, someone who didn't belong in their world, someone they could pity, someone they could look down on, someone they could offer charity to. And hidden in the bottom of that canvas bag, underneath an old wallet with $20 cash, was my American Express Centurion card, the black card. Invitation only, $40,000 annual fee, $500,000 minimum yearly spending requirement, unlimited credit line, my name embossed in silver, Helen Montgomery, regional director. I was ready to see who these people really were. The restaurant was called Le Chateau. It sat on the top floor of the city's most exclusive hotel, the kind of place with a 3-month waiting list, the kind of place where dinner costs $400 per person before wine, the kind of place I'd taken clients to dozens of times, but Daniel had never seen me enter. I arrived exactly on time, 7 o'clock, Saturday evening. The hostess looked at my clothes with barely concealed surprise, but checked her list and found my name. She led me through the dining room. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, fresh flowers on every table, classical music playing softly. Every other woman in the room wore designer dresses and expensive jewelry. I felt every eye on me as I walked past. I heard whispers. I saw smirks. I kept my head down, playing my role perfectly. Daniel, Sophia, Victoria, and Richard were already seated at a corner table by the window. Daniel stood immediately when he saw me. He hugged me tight. "Mom, you look nice," he said, trying to sound encouraging. Sweet boy, always trying to make me feel better. Sophia hugged me too. "Helena, I'm so glad you could make it," she said warmly. She meant it. She was a good girl. But Victoria and Richard, their faces told a different story. Victoria was 62 years old, blonde hair perfectly styled, Botox smooth face, emerald green dress that probably cost $8,000. Diamond necklace that could have bought a car. She looked at my thrift store dress and her smile froze, became plastic, became fake. Richard was 65, silver hair, expensive suit. Watch that cost at least $120,000. I knew because I'd considered buying the same model last year. He stood and shook my hand. His grip was weak, dismissive, like touching something dirty. "Helena," Victoria said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "How wonderful to finally have a proper conversation. Please sit. Richard, pull out her chair." Richard pulled out my chair like it was a chore. I sat. Daniel sat between Sophia and me. I could see the tension in his shoulders. He was nervous. He knew this could go badly. A waiter appeared immediately. Young man, Perfect posture, French accent. He handed out menus. Leather-bound, gold lettering, everything in French, no prices listed. The kind of menu that says, if you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. I opened my menu and stared at it like I couldn't understand a single word. Because poor office workers don't speak French, do they? I let confusion show on my face. Victoria noticed immediately. "Oh dear," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Is the menu difficult, Helena? These words can be quite challenging if you're not familiar with French cuisine. Would you like me to help you order something simple? Something that won't be too expensive?" I looked up at her with grateful eyes. "That would be so kind of you, Victoria. I don't want to order something too costly. I know these places can be pricey." Victoria's smile widened. She was enjoying this. "Don't worry at all about the cost, dear. We're treating tonight. Richard always insists on paying when we dine out. It's just how we do things. Now, let me see. Perhaps the chicken? That's always a safe, simple choice." The waiter's eyebrow twitched. The chicken dish cost $95. It was literally the cheapest thing on the menu. He knew what Victoria was doing. I could see it in his eyes. "The chicken sounds perfect," I said softly. "Thank you so much." Victoria ordered duck confit for herself, $140. Richard ordered Wagyu steak, $180. Sophia ordered sea bass, $120. Daniel ordered pasta, $98. He was trying to keep the price down, protecting me in his own way. Then Richard ordered wine. "We'll have a bottle of the Chateau Margaux 2007, he said casually. The waiter nodded. That wine cost $800 a bottle. I knew because I'd ordered it for client dinners before. "Quality never economizes," Richard said, looking directly at me. "Life's too short to drink cheap wine, don't you think, Helena?" "I wouldn't know," I said quietly. "I usually drink water." Victoria actually laughed. A small, tinkling laugh. "How sensible of you," she said. "Water is quite healthy, very practical." The conversation continued while we waited for food. And this is where things got interesting. This is where I saw exactly who these people were. Victoria sipped her $800 wine and looked at me with curiosity. "So Helena, tell us about yourself. What exactly do you do for work?" Daniel's always been rather vague about it. I folded my hands in my lap. "I work in an office downtown, administrative work mostly. Filing, organizing, scheduling, that sort of thing." "Oh," Victoria said, her eyes lighting up with understanding. "Administrative support. How lovely. That's honest work. Every office needs good support staff. And you've been doing this for how long?" "About 30 years, I said, which was true. I'd been in corporate offices for 30 years, just not as support staff. 30 years, Richard repeated. That's quite dedicated. And what does administrative work pay these days? If you don't mind me asking?" Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Dad, it's fine, Daniel," I interrupted gently. "I don't mind. I make about $3,000 a month. It's enough for my needs. I live simply." Victoria's eyes widened with something between pity and disgust. $3,000 a month, she repeated. "In this city? My goodness, Helena, how do you manage? Rent alone must take most of that." "I have a small apartment," I said. "Rent controlled. I've been there for years. It's modest but comfortable." "I'm sure it is, dear," Victoria said, her tone suggesting she was quite sure it wasn't. "And you're managing financially? You're not struggling? Because family helps family, you know. We'd hate to think of you having difficulties." This was it. This was the moment. I could see it coming. Sophia looked uncomfortable. Daniel looked mortified. But Victoria leaned forward, her expression one of generous concern. "Helena," she said softly, "Richard and I have been discussing something. We know that on your salary, things must be tight, especially at your age, with retirement approaching. And we've noticed that you sometimes lean on Daniel for support. Not financially, of course, but emotionally. Calling him frequently, asking to see him often. And we understand that. You're his mother. You're alone. That's natural." My hands tightened in my lap, but I kept my face neutral. "I try not to be a burden," I said quietly. "Oh, you're not a burden," Victoria said quickly. Too quickly. "Not at all. But Daniel and Sophia are young. They're building their life together. They need space to grow as a couple, time to establish themselves. And we worry that they feel obligated to spend time with you when they might rather be focused on their marriage, their future." Daniel's face went red. Mom is not. Victoria held up a hand. Please, Daniel, let me finish. Helena, this comes from a place of love. For you and for them. Richard and I would like to help. We'd like to give you $700 a month. A small stipend. Enough to give you more financial breathing room. Perhaps enough for you to enjoy some activities, make some friends your own age, develop interests outside of Daniel's life. In exchange, we'd just ask that you give Daniel and Sophia some space. Maybe see them once a month instead of every week. Let them call you instead of you always calling them. Give them room to breathe. What do you think? Doesn't that sound fair? The table went silent. The restaurant noise continued around us. Glasses clinked. People laughed. Somewhere a waiter dropped a spoon. But at our table, there was only silence. I looked at Victoria. Her face was earnest, sincere. She genuinely thought she was doing something kind, something generous. She thought she was solving a problem. She saw a poor, lonely old woman clinging to her son, and she was offering charity to make that woman go away. Richard nodded in agreement. $700 a month is quite generous, Helena. That's $8,400 a year, nearly 3 months of your salary. We think that's more than fair compensation for giving the kids some independence. Compensation. They said compensation. Like I was an employee being paid to stay away from my own son. Daniel's chair scraped as he stood up. This is insane. Mom, we're leaving. I'm sorry. I can't believe they... I reached up and touched his arm gently. It's okay, Daniel. Sit down. Mom, please, sit down. He sat slowly, confused. Sophia was pale. She looked at her parents like she was seeing them for the first time. I looked at Victoria and Richard. I kept my voice soft, humble, grateful. That's very generous of you both. Very kind. Can I ask a few questions before I decide? Victoria smiled, triumphant. She thought she'd won. Of course, dear. Ask anything. I folded my hands on the table, and I let my voice change, just slightly. The timid tone disappeared. My spine straightened. My eyes focused. $700 a month to stay away from my son. Is that correct? Victoria's smile flickered. Well, not stay away exactly. Just give them space. $700 a month, I repeated. Let's be clear about what we're discussing. Yes, Richard said firmly. $700 a month. That's our offer. I nodded slowly. And how much have you invested in Daniel and Sophia's life so far? I'm curious. Victoria blinked. I'm sorry? You gave them $160,000 for their house down payment. You paid for their wedding. $60,000 if I remember correctly. You bought Sophia's car. $45,000. You pay for their annual vacation. About $20,000 a year for the past 2 years. And you've given them various gifts and cash. Let's say another $15,000 over 3 years. That's approximately $340,000 you've invested in controlling their life. Is my math correct? The table went silent again. But this was a different silence. A shocked silence. Victoria's mouth opened, closed. How did you... I pay attention, I said simply. I listen when my son talks. I remember numbers. Now let me share some numbers with you. I paused. Let the tension build. The waiter approached with our food, but I held up one finger. He backed away immediately. I don't make $3,000 a month. Victoria. That was a lie. I apologize for the deception. I make $40,000 a month. I've made that amount, or close to it, for the past 19 years. My total career earnings are approximately $10 million before taxes. I'm a regional director for a multinational corporation. I manage operations in 5 countries. I oversee 12,000 employees. I negotiate contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I sit on 3 corporate boards. Last year alone, I earned $480,000 in salary and bonuses. Victoria's face went white. Richard's wine glass stopped halfway to his mouth. I continued, my voice steady. When Daniel was 11 years old and needed surgery for his asthma, I paid $70,000 out of pocket. When he went to college, I could have paid his full tuition, $180,000. I didn't. I let him take loans because I wanted him to understand the value of education. But I set up a trust fund that paid off those loans the day after he graduated. He never knew. I've been contributing to a retirement fund in his name since he was born. It's currently worth $1.2 million. He'll receive it when he turns 40. He doesn't know that either. Sophia gasped. Daniel stared at me like he'd never seen me before. I own my apartment. I bought it outright 20 years ago. $450,000. It's now worth $1.1 million. I drive a 10-year-old car by choice, not necessity. I could buy a luxury car with cash tomorrow. I just don't want to. I wear thrift store clothes because I like them, because they're comfortable, because I don't need to prove my worth with designer labels. I pulled my canvas bag into my lap, reached inside, pulled out my Centurion card, laid it on the white tablecloth. The black metal gleamed under the chandelier light. This is an American Express Centurion card, invitation only, $40,000 annual fee, $500,000 minimum yearly spending requirement. I've had it for 12 years. I use it for everything: travel, entertainment, gifts. Last year I spent $730,000 on this card alone. Victoria was shaking. Richard had gone completely still. I came here tonight dressed like this on purpose. I wanted to see how you'd treat someone you thought had nothing, someone you thought was beneath you, and you showed me exactly who you are. You offered me $700 a month to disappear from my son's life. $700. That's what you think a mother's love is worth. I stood up. My voice didn't rise. I didn't need to yell. Everyone at nearby tables was already watching. Let me tell you what $700 means to me, Victoria. It's one business lunch. It's half a hotel room for one night when I travel. It's a pair of shoes I don't need. It's nothing. But you thought it was everything. You thought it would buy me. You thought it would make me go away. I picked up my Centurion card, held it up. I'm going to pay for dinner tonight. All of it, including that $800 wine you ordered to show off. And then I'm going to leave. And you're going to sit here and think about what kind of people you really are. Thousands of people have told me these stories help them feel less alone. If you're one of them, please subscribe. New stories every week. Stories that matter. Stories that heal. Click subscribe now. I signaled the waiter. He came over immediately. I could see in his eyes that he'd been watching. He'd seen everything. He knew exactly what was happening. Yes, madam, he said. I'd like to see the manager, please, I said calmly. Of course, right away. Victoria found her voice. It was shaking. Helena, you don't need to make a scene. We can discuss this privately. Please sit down. I didn't sit. I stood there, holding my Centurion card, waiting. The manager arrived within 30 seconds. He was a distinguished man in his 50s, perfect suit, concerned expression. Good evening, madam. How may I assist you? I handed him my card. I'd like to pay for Table 17's entire meal, everything they've ordered, everything they will order, wine included. And I'd like to add a 30% gratuity for the staff. He looked at the Centurion card. His eyes widened slightly. He knew what it meant. Of course, madam. It would be my pleasure. Should I close the check now or wait until the table has finished dining? Close it now, I said. I'm leaving. They'll stay. Very good, madam. He pulled out a portable card reader, processed the transaction right there at the table. Your total is $3,200, including gratuity. Please sign here. I signed. The manager handed back my card with a slight bow. Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. It's always a pleasure to serve our Centurion members. I hope to see you again soon. You will, I said. I bring clients here regularly. His eyes flickered with recognition. Of course. I thought your name was familiar. You were here last month with the Brennan Industries Group, the private dining room. That's right, I said. 7 people. We celebrated a $40 million contract signing. Victoria made a sound. A small, strangled sound. The manager smiled. A memorable evening. Please, allow me to walk you out personally. That won't be necessary, I said. But thank you. I turned to Daniel. He was staring at me with tears in his eyes. Not sad tears. Complicated tears. Confusion. Pride. Shock. Love. All mixed together. Daniel, I said softly, I love you. I've always loved you. Everything I did, every choice I made, was because I wanted you to be a good man. Not a rich man. A good man. And you are. You're kind, you're hardworking, you're honest. You don't measure people by their bank accounts. That's what I wanted to teach you. That's what I did teach you. I'm proud of you. He stood up, hugged me tight. Mom, he whispered, why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't need to know, I whispered back. You needed to become who you are. And you did. I pulled back, looked at Sophia. She was crying too. Sophia, you're a good person. You have a good heart. Don't let anyone tell you that money defines your worth. Not your parents. Not anyone. You define your own worth. Sophia nodded, unable to speak. I looked at Victoria and Richard. They were frozen, pale, shocked, humiliated. Every person at every nearby table was watching, listening, judging them. Victoria, Richard, I said quietly, I'm going to give you some advice, free advice, worth more than $700 a month. Money doesn't make you better than anyone. It just makes you responsible for using it well. You've used it to control, to manipulate, to buy obedience. That's not love. That's not family. That's just sad. I picked up my old canvas bag, adjusted it on my shoulder. When Daniel was 11 years old and couldn't breathe, I didn't think about money. I just thought about saving my child. That's what parents do. We sacrifice, we work, we do whatever it takes. Not for recognition, not for control, just because that's what love is. You offered me $700 to stay away from the person I sacrificed everything for. Think about that. Really think about what that says about you. I walked away, walked through that dining room with my head high, in my wrinkled thrift store dress, with my worn shoes, with my canvas bag, and I felt more powerful than I'd ever felt in any designer outfit I'd ever worn. Behind me, I heard Daniel's voice, firm, strong. We're leaving too. Sophia, get your coat. Daniel, wait. Victoria's voice. No, Daniel said. I don't want to hear it. What you did tonight was unforgivable. You tried to pay my mother to abandon me. My mother, the woman who worked herself to exhaustion to give me a good life, the woman who never asked me for a single thing, and you thought $700 would make her go away. I don't know who you are, but I know I don't want to know you better. I heard chairs scraping, footsteps. Daniel and Sophia caught up with me at the elevator. Mom, wait, Daniel said. I turned, looked at my son, my beautiful, good-hearted son. Can we take you home? He asked. I was going to catch a cab, I said. Please, let us drive you. We need to talk. I nodded. Okay. The three of us rode the elevator down in silence. When we reached the lobby, Sophia spoke for the first time. I'm so sorry, Helena. I didn't know they were planning that. I would have stopped them. I swear I would have. I know, I said gently. You're not responsible for your parents' choices. But they're my parents, she said. And they were so cruel. Yes, I agreed. They were. But you're not them. Remember that. We walked to the parking garage. Daniel and Sophia drove a nice car, not excessive, a Honda, practical. Daniel had chosen it himself, paid for it himself. I'd seen the pride on his face when he showed it to me. We drove through the city. Nobody spoke for several minutes. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. Why didn't you tell me? He asked again. All these years. Why? I looked out the window, watched the city lights pass by, because I wanted you to know what it felt like to earn things, to work for what you have, to be proud of yourself. If you'd known I was wealthy, every choice you made would have been different. Every struggle would have had an escape route. Every failure would have had a safety net you didn't earn, and you wouldn't be who you are now. But I could have helped you, he said. All those times I thought you were struggling. All those times I worried about you. You did help me, I said, by being a good person, by making good choices, by becoming someone I'm proud of. That helped me more than money ever could. $40,000 a month, Daniel said, shaking his head. $10 million in career earnings. Mom, that's not just comfortable. That's wealthy, really wealthy. I know. And you own your apartment, and you set up a trust fund for me, and you paid off my student loans, and you've been living like you make $3,000 a month. Why? I turned to look at him. Because I don't need much to be happy. I need you. I need to know you're okay. I need to know you're living a good life with a good person. That's what matters to me. The rest is just numbers in a bank account. Sophia spoke from the back seat. My parents have always measured everything by money. How much things cost, how much people earn, what kind of car someone drives, what neighborhood they live in. I grew up thinking that was normal, that everyone thought that way. It's not normal, I said. It's just one way of seeing the world. And it's a sad way, because it means you miss the things that actually matter. Like what? Sophia asked. Like the way Daniel lights up when he talks about his work, I said. Like the way you look at him when you think no one's watching. Like the way he held my hand at the restaurant when he was worried about me. Those things don't have price tags, but they're worth everything. We arrived at my apartment building. Daniel pulled up to the curb, but didn't let me get out immediately. "Mom," he said, "I need to know. Are you okay? Financially, emotionally, everything. Are you really okay?" I smiled. "I'm more than okay, sweetheart. I'm successful. I'm independent. I'm healthy. And I have you. I'm perfect." "But you've been alone for 6 years," he said. "Since Dad died. Don't you get lonely?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But I have friends. I have work I love. I have colleagues I respect. I have a life. And I have you. I see you every week. We have dinner. We talk. That's not being alone. That's having exactly what I need." "Victoria said you call me too much," Daniel said quietly. "She said you're too dependent on me. Do you feel that way?" I asked. "No," he said immediately. "Never. I love when you call. I love our dinners. I love having you in my life." "Then that's all that matters," I said. "Victoria sees dependence because she doesn't understand love without transaction. She gives money and expects obedience. I give love and expect nothing." "But you gave me everything," Daniel said. "Everything I have, everything I am is because of you." "No," I said firmly. "Everything you are is because of you. I just gave you the opportunity to become it. You did the work. You made the choices. You built the character. That's all you." I opened the car door, started to get out. Then I stopped, turned back. "Daniel, Sophia, listen to me. What happened tonight was ugly, but it showed you something important. It showed you who people really are when they think you're beneath them. Remember that. And make sure you're never those people. Make sure you treat everyone with respect. The janitor, the waiter, the secretary, the person who seems like they have nothing, because you never know who they really are. And even if they really do have nothing, they still deserve respect. They're still human. They still have value." "We will, Mom," Daniel said. "I promise." "Good." I smiled. "Now go home, both of you. Talk about what happened, process it, and call me tomorrow." "Mom, wait," Daniel said. "One more thing. That retirement fund you mentioned, the $1.2 million, I don't want it." I blinked. "What?" "I don't want it," he repeated. "When I turn 40, I don't want you to give me that money. Use it for yourself. Travel. Retire early. Enjoy your life. You've earned it." "Daniel, I mean it." "Mom, you've already given me everything that matters. You taught me how to work, how to earn, how to be proud of myself. That's worth more than any amount of money. I don't need the trust fund. I need you to be happy." I felt tears in my eyes, the first tears of the entire evening. "You really are a good man," I whispered. "I learned from a good woman," he said. I got out of the car, waved as they drove away, walked into my building, rode the elevator to my floor, went into my modest apartment, the apartment I'd bought 20 years ago, the apartment that was now worth over $1 million, but still had the same old furniture, the same comfortable couch, the same family photos on the walls. I sat down, took off my old shoes, looked at my wrinkled thrift store dress, and I laughed. I laughed until tears ran down my face, because I'd done it. I'd shown Victoria and Richard Ashford exactly who they were. And I'd shown Daniel exactly who he was, too. A man who didn't need money to have value. A man who measured worth by character, not bank accounts. That was my son. That was my legacy. And no amount of money could buy that. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence from Victoria and Richard. 3 days of phone calls with Daniel. 3 days of text messages from Sophia apologizing over and over again. 3 days of me going to work like nothing had happened. Because nothing had changed for me. I was still the same person, still the same regional director, still running the same operations, still managing the same 12,000 employees across 5 countries. On Monday morning, I had a video conference with my team in Singapore. On Monday afternoon, I reviewed quarterly reports with our London office. On Tuesday, I negotiated a $12 million contract with a supplier in Frankfurt. On Wednesday, I presented to the board of directors about expansion opportunities in South America. My life continued exactly as it always had. Professional, successful, purposeful. But on Wednesday evening, something changed. I was in my apartment, reviewing financial projections on my laptop, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Hello? Helena Montgomery?" A woman's voice, crisp, professional, unfamiliar. "Yes, this is she." My name is Patricia Caldwell. I'm an attorney representing Victoria and Richard Ashford. Do you have a moment to speak? I closed my laptop. Sat back. I have several moments. Go ahead. I'll be direct, Ms. Montgomery. My clients are very upset about what happened at Le Chateau on Saturday evening. They feel that you deliberately deceived them, that you humiliated them publicly, that you damaged their reputation in front of witnesses. They're considering legal action for emotional distress and defamation. I was quiet for 3 seconds. Then I laughed. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud. Ms. Caldwell, I said, I'm going to be direct too. Your clients offered me $700 a month to disappear from my son's life, in a public restaurant, in front of witnesses. That's not emotional distress. That's insulting. That's cruel. And it's documented by approximately 15 people who saw and heard the entire conversation. If anyone has grounds for emotional distress, it's me. Would you like to compare legal teams? Because I have 3 attorneys on retainer. 2 of them specialize in corporate litigation. 1 of them handles family law, and all of them are very good at their jobs. Silence on the other end. Then, I see. Furthermore, I continued, I paid for your client's dinner. $3,200. I didn't have to do that. I chose to do that. Because unlike them, I don't use money as a weapon. I use it as a tool for generosity, for kindness, for showing people who I really am. Your clients tried to buy me. I simply showed them that I couldn't be bought. That's not defamation. That's truth. Ms. Montgomery, I'm not finished, I said calmly. Your clients measured my worth in dollars. $700 a month, $8,400 a year. They looked at me, saw someone they thought was poor, and decided that person wasn't worthy of respect, wasn't worthy of love, wasn't worthy of time with her own son. That tells me everything I need to know about their character. And I suspect it tells everyone who was in that restaurant everything they need to know too. More silence. Then, quietly, my clients are willing to apologize. Formally, in writing, in exchange for your assurance that you won't discuss this matter with anyone else. No social media posts, no interviews, no public commentary. Ms. Caldwell, I said, I don't need their apology. I don't want their apology. An apology that comes with conditions isn't an apology. It's damage control. Tell your clients this. I have no interest in discussing what happened publicly. Not because they're asking me not to, but because I don't need to. The people who matter know the truth. My son knows the truth. His wife knows the truth. That's enough for me. What Victoria and Richard do with that truth is their business. But I'm done with this conversation, and I'm done with them. I hung up, turned off my phone, went back to my financial projections. But the universe wasn't done yet. On Thursday afternoon, I was in a meeting with the executive team when my assistant knocked on the conference room door. She looked apologetic, but urgent. I'm sorry to interrupt, Ms. Montgomery, but there's a Sophia Ashford in the lobby. She says it's important. She says she'll wait as long as necessary. I excused myself from the meeting, took the elevator down to the lobby, and there was Sophia. She looked terrible. Red eyes, no makeup, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, not the designer clothes I'd seen her wear before, just normal clothes. She looked young, vulnerable, real. Helena, she said, standing up immediately. I'm so sorry to show up at your work, but I needed to see you. I needed to talk to you. Please. Just 5 minutes. I looked at her, saw genuine distress, genuine need. Come with me, I said. I took her to my office, not the conference room. My actual office, 20th floor, corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the entire city, mahogany desk, leather chairs, diplomas and awards on the walls, photos of contracts signed, teams celebrated, achievements earned. Sophia walked in and stopped, looked around. This is your office, she said quietly. This is my office, I confirmed. It's beautiful. It's functional, I said. Sit down, Sophia. Tell me what's wrong. She sat, twisted her hands in her lap. My parents are furious. They hired a lawyer. They're talking about suing you. I told them they're insane. I told them they were wrong. I told them what they did was unforgivable, but they won't listen to me. They never listen to me. I know about the lawyer, I said. She called yesterday. I made it clear that any legal action would be a mistake. I don't think we'll hear from her again. Sophia looked up. You're not worried? No, but my parents have money. They have connections. They have— So do I said gently. Sophia, I've been doing this job for 19 years. I've negotiated contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I've dealt with hostile takeovers, corporate espionage, international regulations, and executives who make your parents look like amateurs. I'm not intimidated by them, and I'm not interested in fighting with them. I just want them to leave me alone. And based on that phone call yesterday, I think they will. Sophia nodded slowly. Daniel and I had a huge fight with them. Tuesday night, we went to their hotel. We told them they needed to apologize to you. Really apologize. Not through a lawyer, in person. They refused. They said you were the one who should apologize. For lying, for embarrassing them, for making them look bad. They made themselves look bad, I said. I know, Sophia said. I know that now. But Helena, I need you to understand something. My entire life, I've been taught that money is what matters. That's how my parents measure everything. Success, value, worth, love. Everything comes down to money. How much you have, how much you spend, how much you show. And I never questioned it because that's all I knew. She took a shaky breath. But watching you on Saturday night, I realized something. You have more money than my parents do. Way more. Your career earnings, your investments, your assets. You're probably worth 3 or 4 times what they're worth. But you don't act like it. You don't measure people by it. You don't use it to control or manipulate. You just live your life, and you're happier than they've ever been. I leaned forward. Sophia, money is a tool. That's all it is. It can make life easier. It can open doors. It can solve certain problems. But it can't buy character. It can't buy genuine relationships. It can't buy respect. Those things have to be earned, and they're earned by how you treat people. All people. Not just the ones who have as much as you do. My parents don't understand that, she said. I know. Daniel wants to cut them off completely. He says he doesn't want them in our life anymore. And part of me agrees with him. But they're my parents. I love them. Even though they're awful sometimes. Even though they did something unforgivable, I still love them. Does that make me weak? No, I said firmly. It makes you human. Love isn't conditional, Sophia. You can love someone and still hold them accountable for their behavior. You can love someone and still set boundaries. You can love someone and still say no. How do I do that? She asked. How do I love them and set boundaries? I thought for a moment. You tell them the truth. You tell them that what they did was wrong. That offering me money to stay away from Daniel was cruel and insulting. That until they genuinely apologize, not through a lawyer but face to face, you're keeping your distance. You still love them, but you don't accept their behavior, and you won't pretend it was okay. And if they refuse to apologize, then you keep your distance, I said. And you focus on building your life with Daniel, a life based on values you choose, not values they impose. Sophia wiped her eyes. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you hide your success from Daniel all these years? Why did you let him think you were struggling? I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the city below, because I wanted him to build his own success. If he'd known I was wealthy, every choice would have been influenced by that knowledge. Every job offer would have been compared to what I could give him. Every apartment would have seemed inadequate next to what I could buy him. Every achievement would have felt smaller, because he'd know I could have made it easier. I wanted him to earn everything, feel proud of everything, know that his success was his own, not mine, his. But he could have had an easier life, Sophia said. Easier isn't always better, I replied. Daniel worked through college. He paid off student loans. He rented cheap apartments. He ate ramen noodles. And now he's 25 years old with a job he earned, skills he developed, and pride in who he is. That's worth more than any easy path I could have given him. I turned back to face her. You had the easy path, Sophia. Your parents gave you everything. And look at you now. You're 27 years old, and you're asking me how to set boundaries with your parents. You're uncertain about your own worth. You're dependent on their approval. Is that really easier, or is it just different? She looked down. You're right. I've never had to work for anything. I've never had to earn anything, and I don't know who I am without my parents' money. Then figure it out, I said gently. Get a job. Any job. Volunteer. Start a business. Do something that's yours. Something you built. Something you earned. Not for the money. For the feeling of accomplishment? For the knowledge that you can stand on your own? Daniel suggested that too, she said. He wants me to get a job, start a career, but I don't know what I'd even do. I've never worked. Then start small, I said. Find something you're interested in. Try it. If you hate it, try something else. That's what life is. Trying things, failing sometimes, learning, growing. You don't have to have it all figured out at 27. You just have to start. Sophia stood up. Thank you, Helena, for talking to me, for not hating me. I don't hate you, I said. I never hated you. I was disappointed in your parents, but you're not responsible for their choices. Will you still see Daniel? She asked. Will you still be part of our lives, even though my parents ruined everything? Sophia, I said, walking to her and taking her hands. Your parents didn't ruin anything. They showed their true character. That's all. And yes, I will absolutely still see Daniel. He's my son. Nothing will ever change that. Not your parents, not money, not distance, not time, nothing. She hugged me tight. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for being the kind of person I want to be. After Sophia left, I went back to my meeting, finished the quarterly review, approved 3 new hires, denied a budget request, scheduled a site visit to our Toronto office. Just another Thursday. Just another day of being who I was, who I'd always been. But that evening, something else happened. I was walking to the parking garage when I ran into James Brennan, CEO of Brennan Industries, one of my biggest clients, a man worth approximately $300 million. A man who'd been at Le Chateau on Saturday night, at a table about 20 feet from ours. Helena, he said, walking over with a huge smile. I was hoping I'd see you. James, I said. How are you? I'm great. But more importantly, how are you? Because I witnessed quite a scene on Saturday night. My stomach tightened. You were there. I was there, he confirmed. Table by the far wall. I saw the whole thing. Heard most of it too. That restaurant has great acoustics. He paused. That took guts, Helena. What you did, the way you handled those people. I've never seen anything like it. It was personal, I said quietly. Family business. I know, he said. But it was also impressive. You know what I saw? I saw a woman who didn't need to prove anything to anyone. But when pushed, she showed exactly who she was. With grace. With power. With absolute control. That's leadership, Helena. That's character. Thank you, I said, not sure what else to say. I'm telling you this because I want you to know something, James continued. We're opening a new division, international expansion. We need someone to run it, someone with your experience, your skills, your integrity. I was already considering you, but after Saturday night, I'm not considering anymore. I'm offering. The job is yours if you want it. Chief Operations Officer, 5-year contract, base salary $300,000. Performance bonuses could double that. Full benefits, stock options, the works. I stared at him. James, I already have a job. I know, and you're incredible at it. But this is bigger. This is a chance to build something from the ground up. Shape an entire division. Make decisions that affect thousands of people. Leave a real legacy. Think about it, please. At least think about it. I will, I said slowly. I'll think about it. Good. He handed me his card, as if I didn't already have it. Call me next week. Let's have dinner. Discuss details. No pressure. Just conversation. Okay, I said. Thank you, James. He walked away. I stood there in the parking garage, holding his card, thinking about what just happened. I'd gone to dinner to test Victoria and Richard's character. I'd exposed them, embarrassed them, walked away thinking that was the end of it. But instead, I'd impressed one of the most powerful CEOs in the country. And now I had a job offer that would change my entire career, increase my salary by $160,000 a year, give me opportunities I'd never even imagined. Karma, it seemed, didn't just punish the cruel. It rewarded the honest, the genuine, the people who stood up for themselves and their values, even when it was hard, even when it was public, even when it was risky. Victoria and Richard thought they could humiliate me. They thought my shabby clothes and humble demeanor meant I was nothing, meant I was someone they could dismiss, someone they could buy off with $700 a month. But the universe saw something different. The universe saw a woman who'd built a career through hard work, who'd raised a good son through sacrifice, who'd maintained her values despite having money, who treated people with respect regardless of their status. And the universe said, "Her, reward her." I drove home that night thinking about choices, about consequences, about the fact that everything we do ripples outward in ways we can't predict or control. Victoria and Richard chose cruelty, and they lost their son's respect, maybe forever. I chose honesty, and I gained a career opportunity, maybe the biggest of my life. That's how the world works. Not always. Not immediately, but eventually. Eventually, people reveal who they really are, and the world responds accordingly. 2 weeks passed. Daniel and Sophia came to dinner at my apartment every Sunday, just like always. We cooked together. We talked. We laughed. We didn't mention Victoria and Richard, not because we were avoiding it, just because they weren't relevant anymore. They'd made their choice. We'd made ours. Life moved on. On the third Sunday, Daniel brought something with him, an envelope. He set it on my kitchen table while we ate pasta. Homemade sauce, nothing fancy, just the kind of meal we'd always shared. The kind of meal that mattered because of who we were sharing it with, not what it cost. After dinner, Daniel picked up the envelope. "Mom, I need to show you something." Sophia and I made a decision. We wanted you to know. He handed me the envelope. Inside was a letter, typed, formal, addressed to Victoria and Richard Ashford. I read it silently. "Dear Mom and Dad, we've thought a lot about what happened at Le Chateau. We've talked about it, argued about it, cried about it, and we've made a decision. What you did to Helena was unforgivable. You looked at someone you thought was poor and treated them with contempt. You offered money to make her disappear. You measured a mother's love in dollars, $700 a month. That's what you thought would buy her absence from my life. But here's what you didn't understand. Helena doesn't love me because of what I can give her. She loves me because I'm her son. And I love her because of who she is, not what she has, not what she earns, who she is. You've spent my entire marriage trying to control us through money. House down payment, wedding costs, car payments, vacations, gifts. All of it came with strings attached, with expectations, with the understanding that we owed you, that we had to live the life you wanted us to live because you paid for it. We don't want to live that way anymore. Effective immediately, we're financially independent from you. We're keeping the house because we've been paying the mortgage ourselves for 2 years. We're keeping the car because it's in our name. But we're returning everything else. The vacation fund, the cash gifts, the credit card you gave us for emergencies, all of it. We'll support ourselves, earn our own money, make our own choices, build our own life. You're still my parents, and I still love you. But I don't like who you are, and I don't want to become people like you. People who measure worth in bank accounts. People who use money as a weapon. People who think $700 buys love. If you want to be part of our lives, you need to apologize to Helena. A real apology. Face to face. No lawyers, no conditions, just genuine remorse for what you did. Until then, we need distance. Daniel and Sophia. I finished reading. Looked up. Daniel and Sophia were watching me nervously. "You sent this?" I asked quietly. 3 days ago, Daniel said. "They haven't responded." "They might not respond," Sophia added. "My parents don't apologize. Ever. They think apologizing is weakness." "Then you've made your choice," I said. "And I'm proud of you, both of you." "Are you sure?" Daniel asked. "Because this is going to cause problems. Family drama. Holidays will be awkward. They might cut Sophia out of their will. They might never speak to us again. Are you sure this is worth it?" I stood up, walked to Daniel, put my hands on his shoulders, looked him directly in the eyes. "Daniel, listen to me carefully. You don't owe them anything. Not gratitude for money they chose to give, not obedience for gifts with strings attached, not silence when they treat people cruelly. You owe them nothing. The only thing you owe is to yourself and to Sophia. You owe it to yourselves to live with integrity, to stand up for what's right, to be the kind of people who don't tolerate cruelty, even from family, especially from family." "But they're my parents," Sophia said softly. "What if they never change? What if this means I lose them forever? Then you lose people who weren't really present to begin with," I said gently. "Sophia, real parents want you to be happy, want you to be independent, want you to stand on your own feet. They don't want to control you. They don't want to buy your obedience. They want to watch you grow into the person you're meant to be. If Victoria and Richard can't do that, then you're not losing parents. You're losing people who were holding you back. Sophia wiped her eyes. It's scary, though, being on our own, without their safety net. I know, I said, but it's also freeing. You'll see. In 6 months, you'll look back and realize how much lighter you feel, how much more confident, how much more yourself. Daniel hugged me. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for raising me right, for showing me what real strength looks like, for being exactly who you are. Thank you for being exactly who you are, I said back. I'm so proud of you. They left around 9 o'clock. I cleaned up the dishes, made tea, sat on my couch with a book. Just a quiet Sunday evening. Nothing special, nothing dramatic, just peace. And I thought about what had happened over the past 3 weeks. I'd gone to a dinner thinking I was testing Victoria and Richard, but in reality, I'd done something bigger. I'd shown Daniel what real values looked like. I'd shown Sophia that money doesn't equal worth. I'd shown myself that hiding who I was for all those years had been worth it, because it had taught my son the most important lesson of all. Character matters more than wealth. The next morning, I got to work early, made coffee, opened my email, and there, at the top of my inbox, was a message from James Brennan. Helena, have you thought about my offer? I'm meeting with the board on Friday to finalize the new division structure. I'd love to tell them you're coming aboard. Let's talk this week. Dinner tomorrow? My treat. And before you argue, I know you can afford to pay. I just want to. Call it respect. Call it celebration. Call it whatever you want. Just say yes. I smiled, typed back. Dinner tomorrow sounds perfect, but I'm paying. Call it habit. His response came within 2 minutes. Deal. 7 o'clock. Le Chateau. See you there. Le Chateau. The scene of the crime. The place where everything had changed. Where I'd revealed myself. Where I'd stood up. Where I'd walked away with my head high and my dignity intact. Of course we were going back there. Of course the universe would bring me full circle, because that's how life works. You face things, you deal with them, and then you move forward. Stronger, clearer, more yourself than ever before. On Tuesday evening, I dressed for dinner, but this time, I didn't wear thrift store clothes. I wore a proper business suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, expensive but not showy. Professional, the kind of outfit that said, I belong here, I earned my place here, I don't need to prove anything. I drove to Le Chateau, gave my keys to the valet, walked through the lobby, took the elevator to the top floor, walked into the restaurant. The same hostess was there. She recognized me immediately. Her eyes widened. Ms. Montgomery, she said. Welcome back. Mr. Brennan is already here, right this way. She led me through the dining room, past the same tables, past the same windows, past the corner where I'd sat with Daniel and Sophia and Victoria and Richard just 3 weeks ago. I felt eyes on me, whispers, recognition. Some of these people had been here that night. They'd seen what happened. They knew who I was. I kept my head high, smiled politely, walked with confidence. James stood up when I arrived, shook my hand. Helena, you look fantastic. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me, I said. We sat. The same waiter from last time appeared. He recognized me too. Good evening, Ms. Montgomery. It's a pleasure to serve you again. Can I start you with wine? Perhaps the Chateau Margaux? I smiled. Just water for me, thank you. I'm here for business conversation. Need to keep a clear head. Of course. He poured water. Left us alone. James leaned forward. So, have you thought about my offer? I had. I'd thought about it constantly for 2 weeks. A chance to build something new. To shape a division from nothing. To take everything I'd learned over 19 years and create something bigger, better, more impactful. But I'd also thought about my life as it was. My current position. My current team. My current responsibilities. The people I'd worked with for years. The projects I'd started. The legacy I'd been building. I have thought about it, I said slowly. And I'm honored. Truly. The opportunity is incredible. The salary is generous. The challenge is exactly what I'd want. But I need to decline. James blinked. Decline? Why? Because I'm happy where I am, I said simply. I've built something at my current company. I have a team that trusts me, projects that matter to me, a role I've earned and grown into. Leaving now would feel like abandoning that, and I'm not ready to abandon it. But this is a step up, James said. Chief Operations Officer, more money, more influence, more legacy. I know, I said. And 5 years ago, I would have said yes immediately. But I'm 67 years old, James. I don't need more money. I already have more than I can spend. I don't need more influence. I already have enough. What I need is to finish what I started. Complete the projects I'm invested in. Mentor the people I've been developing. Leave my current company in good shape. That's the legacy I want. Not starting something new. Finishing something I believe in. James sat back. Studied me. You're serious. I'm serious. You're turning down $300,000 base salary. Potentially $600,000 with bonuses. I'm turning down money I don't need for a job I'm not ready to take, I corrected. There's a difference. He laughed, shook his head. You know what, Helena? This is exactly why I wanted you. Because you don't need it. You're not desperate. You're not hungry for more. You're content. You're complete. You know who you are and what you want. That's rare. That's valuable. Thank you, I said. But my answer is still no. Fair enough. He raised his water glass. To knowing yourself. To being enough, to making choices based on values instead of dollars. I raised my glass, clinked it against his. To that, we had a wonderful dinner, talked about business, about industry trends, about life, about the fact that success isn't always about climbing higher. Sometimes it's about standing exactly where you are and being proud of it. When the check came, I paid. $380. James tried to argue, but I refused. I told you I was paying. I meant it. You're stubborn, he said. I'm consistent, I corrected. There's a difference. I drove home that night feeling complete. I'd been offered something huge, something most people would kill for, and I'd said no, not because I couldn't do it, but because I didn't want to, because what I had was enough, because I was enough. 3 months have passed since that dinner at Le Chateau. 3 months since I showed Victoria and Richard who I really was. 3 months since Daniel and Sophia sent their letter. 3 months of silence from the Ashfords. Daniel and Sophia are thriving. They got rid of the guilt, the obligation, the strings attached to every gift. They're building their life on their own terms. Sophia got a job, entry-level position at a marketing firm. She comes home exhausted every day, and she's never been happier. Because she's earning something, building something, becoming someone. I'm still a regional director. Still managing 5 countries, still earning $40,000 a month, still living in my modest apartment, still driving my 10-year-old car, still wearing comfortable clothes that don't cost a fortune, still being exactly who I've always been. Because I learned something a long time ago, something I tried to teach Daniel, something I hope he'll teach his own children someday. Money is just money. It can't buy character. It can't buy genuine relationships. It can't buy respect or dignity or love. Those things are earned through actions, through choices, through how you treat people when nobody's watching, through how you stand up for yourself when everyone's watching. Victoria and Richard measured my worth in $700 a month. They looked at me and saw nothing, but I looked at myself and saw everything. A woman who worked hard, sacrificed much, loved deeply, raised a good son, built a successful career, stayed true to her values even when she didn't have to. That's who I am. And no amount of money can change it. No amount of humiliation can diminish it. No amount of judgment can take it away. I am enough. I've always been enough. And I always will be. That's the lesson. That's the truth. That's what matters. Everything else is just noise.